Hi, welcome to Penser Bank and our interview with Zwipe. My name is Markus Almerud. I'm an analyst here at the bank. So I Robert Puskaric, who is CEO of Zwipe, with me today. A warm welcome.
Thank you, Markus. Pleasure to be here again.
So maybe again we start with shortly describing what Zwipe does, and then also where you are in the value chains in your two businesses.
So we are acting as a system integrator, providing a complete solution to be able to manufacture biometric payment cards as well as biometric access cards. It's a single silicon platform, which is the most, from a component point of view, integrated solution at the market today that is certified by both MasterCard and Visa, and also then commercially available for anyone that wants to buy it. So we are acting as a system integrator, and we are active throughout the whole value chain, even if our customers in pay are the SCMs, meaning the smart card manufacturers who are actually manufacturing cards. So they buy our solution and components, and then they produce and make cards that then goes to what you call a person bureau, which is personalizing the cards, and then the cards are off to the issuer, which is typically a bank then. So that's the value chain. We are then supporting everyone in the value chain. So we sell our equipment or our solution and components to the SCM. We help the SCM to get certified on the final product by Visa and MasterCard. We're also helping them in tuning and setting up their machinery so that they can have a good yield and a high throughput of producing cards. Then we're also working with the person bureaus to help them develop the scripts and what is needed for the cards so they work flawlessly as contactless cards out in retail. And then we also work with the issuers and the banks themselves in a kind of a more of a pull strategy, explaining what is available on the market and where they should turn to if they want this. And we also help them to calculate a business case of introducing this type of cards and how they should position them from our point of view. But the issuers and the banks are not really our customers. Those are our customer's customer.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you want me to take it on access as well?
Well, let's do access. Yeah. Let's do access too, and then we split them up into two, and then we talk about each one separately.
Cool. So on access, it's somehow different, because then we are selling the complete card. So our card, you can load different type of applets on the card. So it's the same card, same level of integration, same level of quality parameters that then can be used as access cards in normal enterprises and corporations, right? You open the door, or you want to kind of authenticate yourself in a way, which means that you put your thumb on the card and the door opens, right?
Yeah.
So no PIN codes. And in this case then we provide a complete solution, because we ourselves in-house have capabilities of producing complete cards.
Yeah.
And we are fully certified and support HID and Logic as access technologies, if we put it that way. And in this case, we are then working with system integrators and security consultant companies, security architect companies that are typically then providing security solutions to enterprises, right? On how you should kind of provide the highest level of security for your premises. And we also work with value-added distributors. And then of course we also have a pull strategy in that case, where we talk directly to the end taker, the enterprise itself, that will provide the cars to their employees, like we talked directly to Fraport, which is running Frankfurt Airport. We have a number of those cases as well. Okay.
But these are new technologies that you're working with.
Yes.
And you say that you're at the inflection points.
Yes.
Why do you think so?
Now you're talking about pay or access, because those are kind of different drivers to kind of start the market.
Well, you can take them both separately, and then we'll dig into each one of them.
Okay. If we start off with pay, we have said, and we are restating, that the inflection point will be this year, and that is simply by the amount of actors on the industry side that have provided technologies and invested money that are now getting ready, right? So you can say that up till now we have maybe been the only one that have been fully certified, but the others are getting there as well, right? So that means that the pressure on the market of adapting to biometric payment cards is increasing, meaning that there are more people, not only Zwipe, putting pressure on the issuers to take up and start rolling out these new technologies that are available. We also see in the discussion with our customers, the SCMs, the ones that are manufacturing cards, that they are having a very high number of high quality discussions with issuers, meaning banks, right? That they are really interested in now onboarding this new technology and providing it to their customers. We also ourselves had success in the first half, launching 2 issuers in Middle East live. So they now provide real cards to real customers, and which was KIB and MEPS. And that of course is also a milestone. But we see simply with the amount of interactions in the industry and the feedback from issuers that this is about to happen this year. Okay. So there is a lot of preparation going on in order to kind of push the market.
Maybe we stay there and we take access a little bit later. Okay. And continue on pay.
Okay.
Because
by the way, here's the KIB card, right?
So it's real.
It's real. It's launched. It's a Visa Infinite card that has been offered to the most prominent customers of KIB, and it's not so that they have asked them if they like it. They have just pushed it out and replaced the current cards that they have.
And I guess 2 questions as a follow-up to that. The first one would be that still you had 2 commercial launches in the quarter.
Yep.
But still you're writing that, and we talked about it before, that takeoff still continues to be quite slow. Why do you think that is?
Because we had much higher expectations, right? And the collective market had much higher expectations, because I mean we can just look at what the analysts have been saying about how much should have been shipped last year and how much should have probably been shipped by mid-year this year. And even if we see a lot of good interactions in the market and a lot of good traction, it's not at the level of volumes that we expected. So of course it's disappointing, but it's not so that we are working less hard or that there is no interest out there to say this is not going to happen. I just think it's delayed because it's a great product, and I think that a few years from now nobody will reflect on that we're using biometric payment cards because it's an everyday thing. But it is delayed. It's not where we wanted it to be or where we expected it to be.
And in terms of revenue, so you had 2 commercial launches, but you haven't seen any revenues from them yet. What do you expect? What kind of development do you expect?
I mean, it is so that the announced customers that we have that are commercially ready to ship cards, they of course have some inventory of what they have bought from us, right? And an initial launch is maybe not emptying that warehouse. So when they need to refill, it has to be either more launches, meaning more individual issuers and different banks, or it has to be larger quantities. So this is of course what we're working on, that to use that momentum that we have in the Middle East, having 2 launches, that there are another 5, 8, 10 launches, right? That people follow the now kind of market leaders in biometric payment cards, which is then MEPS and KIB, that they kind of replicate and follow, because nobody wants to be left behind, right? So there we have, I think, done a tremendous good work in order to spread the word and to use all kinds of social media and other type of media interactions in order to position what we have and what our customer and our customers have done.
And if we stay there and we look a little bit about the pipeline, can you talk a little bit about the pipeline that you do have?
Yeah, I mean, we also in report said that we have signed 8 new agreements in Asia. So and that's a mix of manufacturers and personal bureaus. But now we are fully ready and fully cover 10 countries in Asia, which is the countries where we want to be present, right? So what is happening right now, the customers and partners that we signed up in Asia, what is happening right now, this week and last week, is that we are on a roadshow together with them, visiting issuers, meaning banks, in these countries, right? And there is a huge trade show happening in India as well. So now we're using the momentum that we have the right partners in 10 countries to meet their customers, right? And they are dragging us along because we are the best kind of position to tell the story about biometric cards and why people should introduce them as banks, right?
So it's the card manufacturers that you are on roadshow with, and
yes, absolutely. Yeah. So we are helping them creating the pull, you can say. The push is, only pushing our customers to buy more.
Yeah.
But you also need to create a pull, meaning who is going to buy from my customer, which is the issuer and the bank. They need to kind of say, okay, this is a great thing to do. I know how to position it, how to calculate, return on this investment, and so on. And that is what we are helping our customers in their dialogue with their customers.
Because KIB and MEPS, they're not your customers. They are buyers of the card from
my customer. From my customer. Yeah.
But at the same time, you're talking about some pilots which are delayed, which has caused some postponement of some of the projects that you have, and also to projects that are to come. What is that all about?
I mean, we have had a number of pilots that we hope that we will progress faster, that they should reach what we then call, family and friends, which means that we can talk more publicly about them, because there are people running around in the different countries and cities with the cards, and then eventually a commercial launch. This has been dragging on for different reasons, and we said also earlier that we have kind of worked a little bit on our solution, making it more robust. So the solution was maybe in certain circumstances not performing the way we wanted it to perform, and that meant that we had to do some adjustments. And then of course the customer then wants to restart the pilot, because they want to see that this kind of enhancements, if you put it that way, or changes are giving the desired effect, and they are. So we hope that of course we will be able to progress these pilots and launch these customers as well, because it has taken far too much time.
And if we look at the progress of the cards, and you were talking about the product being, I mean, it's a good product, and it's
Excellent
something that
product.
we think that everybody will have at the end of the day. But if I look at the history and look in the mirror and look at contactless cards when they came, it took about 8 years for the contactless cards to reach mass market. Is there any reason whatsoever to assume that this will not be the case this time around? That they will not take off in the same way?
You can say that it should in reality be able to take off faster, because the introduction of contactless cards required that you change the terminal as well. Because at the time when contactless cards were introduced to the market, the payment terminals were not contactless. You actually had to push in your card, right? You couldn't blip the card, even if you had a blip card. I mean, we remember when we traveled to certain countries, if our countries were early, that you couldn't blip, you still had to push it in and had the PIN code, right? So now the world have already kind of adapted to contactless. Our cards are contactless cards, right? I mean, these are contactless cards. It's just that in order to make the payment, you also have to have your thumb on it to authenticate yourself, right? To kind of make the payment go through. So in this case, it's not kind of a technology barrier, I would say. It's just that the issuer needs to figure out, how do they want to launch these cards? To whom do they want to launch the card? How do they want to price it? And so on and so on. So it's more kind of a pure business decisions inside the issuer on how they want to position it, right? From a technical point of view, they have to do very, very little. So that's why it could go very fast. But then you can always speculate, how big portion of all the contactless cards will be biometric at what point in time. But that's up to the bank to decide. Do they want to push it out to everyone, or do they actually want to push it out to certain segments and keep it in those segments, or spread it further down? But that is like a second or third step to.
Let's move to access, the other part of the other business line. Maybe going back to the initial question, where we are in terms of takeoff and where we are in terms of the development right now.
From a technology point of view, the card is of course fully functional. It's not so that we have to do new development, and we have gone through if you will call it, certification with HID and Logic. So we're fully compatible with their technologies. Then, of course, as we are approaching the market and discussing with different installations or enterprises that are out there are, of course, different type of readers that you have to tweak certain small things. But it's not the card, it's really the applet from HID or Logic that you need to complement with certain things in order to make it work very smooth. And we're doing that as well. We said that, I mean, we are active in the airport space, data centers, and other type of verticals where higher security is needed. And then it's primarily then Europe, Nordics, and North America where we are targeting to engage, right? And I have to say that wherever we have gone, the interest have been fantastic. The companies that we interact with, they love our product, and when we say that we have a huge number of POCs out there, that is what they are currently doing. So in many cases, it's the system integrator companies that are providing complete solutions for, I would say, many well-known enterprises. I can't disclose, but it's extremely well-known enterprises that are very large, that have a need for high security, where the system integrators that are providing solutions to these companies are currently testing our cards. And the same thing goes for the Nordics. We released a press release the other day, this week, with AWT, and that is a very prominent security technology provider in Sweden, but it's a Swedish company, but they are also providing solutions worldwide. And we are engaging with them on a number of cases, particularly in Sweden as well. But I can't disclose the end taker of the technology, but it's very well known Swedish companies as well.
But you said you have,
or institutions.
You
also
have a lot of proof of concepts of POCs and or pilots out there. But again, same as with Pay, there's no real revenues yet. How do you expect the revenue uptake, and how does it work when you go from proof of concept to getting revenues?
It's very different in Pay and Access, because in Pay it's the bank right out there, and the bank have a huge stock of cards out there that they're replacing on a 3 to 5 year cycle anyhow. So they just kind of have to start injecting different type of cards. And it's very easy to have line of sight. If I work with this smart card manufacturer, they have these customers in these countries. And in Access, it's somehow different, right? Because in Access, it's system integration companies that are working with specific enterprises. And maybe they work with them only in those countries. So things, in order for us in order for us to move faster in the medium term, of course, we need to build up the distribution and partner network, because we can't run around to every enterprise in Sweden alone, right? So if you would take the equivalent of, I think in Sweden there are fully certified by Finansinspektionen 16 banks, okay, that have banking licenses. How many enterprises do you have in Sweden that can buy biometric access cards? Tens of thousands. So how do you reach them, right? So you need to find your partners of reaching into where you want to go, and that of course takes time. Also maybe more time than we anticipated, and maybe it was a bit naive for us to say that we want to go for airports, because every airport in the world, in every country, they have different type of partners, right? Different type of approvals and so on. So things takes a longer time. It's not so that there is a lack of interest. It's not so that they don't like our card. It's just that it takes a little bit more time in order to kind of find a partner that is being used. The partner is testing, and then the partner is in their turn going to push it into these different enterprises. So it's more like a 2 or even 3-step approach that is taking place. And then we are working with specific, you can say, use cases as well. So who is providing like time and attendance systems, for instance? So you pair their kind of solution, which is maybe something that is on the wall, right? That you punch your card, like the old days, stamp your card, but now you kind of blip your card. And when they are kind of selling their systems, they will then promote that you use biometric cards from us. So we're finding like use cases of where is it good to couple our type of cards with their type of systems or solutions, right? And then you are basically agnostic for which vertical it is. Then it's more like, it's more a use case, time and attendance, you open a key cabinet or you want to do something specific, and with that solution comes biometric cards. So we're working like from different angles, but again, we're a small team and things takes time and maybe a bit longer than expected. But we are very close on access as well to make the breakthroughs that we have been working on, because we have a number of POCs out there, a number of pilots, a number of even soon to be live shipments.
And if I look at, because I think you wrote both in pay and also in access, you wrote in the report that you expect revenues to come in from the pilots you have during the second half of the year. So that you should see at least some uptick in the second half of the year. That goes for both lines, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
And I mean, you focused on airports and data centers initially, and then you talk about
also other things.
Also others, and you have had incoming from what I understand. But what is the feedback of? So you have Richmond Airport, which you are trying, or which have a pilot.
I would say we have Civic as a partner in North America. Civic has Safe Skies as their kind of customer, or who they are working with. Safe Sky is like an umbrella for 100 airports in North America. So they are trying out the technology right now. So it's very much Civic working with Safe Sky that have performed the pilot at Richmond Airport. And based on that, they are now writing a report based on the trial. And that will be like a recommendation to all these 100 airports on how to increase security.
And I assume you cannot say what's...
No, I haven't seen the report. The report is not released. But of course, we are very hopeful that this will be something that can propel our ambitions into airports in the US with that report. But it's not so that we're just sitting and waiting for that and doing only Richmond. We're talking to many airports throughout North America. And not all of them are members of Safe Sky. Not all of them are kind of attended by Civics, because we're also working with others.
And what was the feedback from, because you had a pilot at Frankfurt Airport and with Fraport.
Yes.
What was the feedback from that study?
Excellent. That was even then publicly commented and stated on Fraport's LinkedIn channel, and that they had done the test. They have concluded on the test. The test was successful, and that going forward they will see to how to then implement this type of technologies in their kind of daily usage. But that's yet to happen, so to say. And that is what we are working on with the Fraport in order to make it become a reality, right?
Okay. So it's still something that can happen. It's not that we have to despair because we haven't seen the next step yet. It's still ongoing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So we are in dialogue in all these different tracks. But it's also like, initially, both on pay and access, we talk a lot about pilots. But pilots is, also at a stage where maybe a technology is not so well known. I mean, if you have like, a number of enterprises using biometric cards, you wouldn't call that a proof of concept anymore. No. It's like, okay, so we buy 100 cards for our enterprise and we see like, does it provide value to us? And then in the next batch you order your 5,000 or 10,000. And it's a little bit also that with the issuers, right? We have called it pilots, but I mean, you're not going to do a pilot in Middle East with the next customer. Then you do a soft launch.
Yeah.
Because I mean the technology is proven. I mean it's not so that you need to test if the technology works, if it works towards its terminals and so on. It's like, do you want to launch? Okay, but then go for a bigger batch and you do a soft launch, right? You don't have to go for 10 or 50% of your installed base of cards, but you can introduce it to your kind of top 1-2% of your customers and see how it goes. But then it's like more a business decision rather than we need to try this new technology because we are over that hinder, so to say.
Sounds like the launch of this KIB card was quite critical and important.
Yeah, because it's like a proof point to the market that the technology is mature, the technology can be ramped, and the technology can now be used in everyday life. And KIB is very, very happy, and they have publicly also stated that now they want to spread this technology and offer it to the entire customer base of KIB. And that, for me, is a proof point of an inflection point, right?
If I take you two business lines, access and pay, and I try to compare them in terms of both opportunity, but also in terms of risks, that is, what is the probability, what's the difference in the probabilities of them taking off, both in the short and medium term? What would your conclusion be?
Probability that both will happen and that you will have deployments of both access and pay is very high, that you will see this type of technology being deployed. Then of course there is always a question to what extent, right? How big will the deployments be in terms of percentage of total cards in a bank, which is at this point in time harder to say, right? I think that it will be, it's like more obvious to say that there is a higher likelihood that people will start using it in the enterprise track, meaning as access, and that on pay, it's yet to be seen that the banks really want to do bigger deployments of this type of cards. On access, it's like, I think it's easier for the enterprises, the end takers, to understand the value proposition than on the banks. Then I would like to add, on the banks, I think that you have to also differ between traditional banks and fintechs. Because fintechs, they really look for new things, right? I mean, the highest percentage of metal cards is within fintechs. I mean, it's much higher than in traditional banks. So why do they offer a higher percentage of metal cards? What functionality do they add? It's more about profiling yourself as a bank, right? I have cool stuff to offer my customers. So they see new technology, including biometry, as a feature that is positioning me as a bank, as a tech company, right? So I have cool, secure, new products to offer to the market, and I see that as a part of my customer acquisition, right? Because I can stick out in the noise of what I'm offering to the market. While traditional banks, I think, will be slower. Will they deploy? Yes, they do. They will, but they will maybe not be as fast as the fintechs. So I think that what you will see and what you should be looking for is the fintechs that is going to communicate that they are launching this type of products. And then if enough of them do it, then I think the traditional banks will be forced to follow, so to say.
Is it fair to say that, if I read you right, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the size of the payment market is, of course, larger than
in quantity. Absolutely.
The number
it's
of cards.
It's the 3 billion cards out there, right?
But the likelihood that the access market will actually take off is a bit higher than it is for payment, even though we think that both will. Both will,
yes. But and that's good, Markus, because that's kind of that's the big difference in this, that the quantities, when pay gets going, is enormous, right? Because I mean, an enterprise making a decision, I mean, how many enterprises within Sweden have more than 1,000 employees? And then maybe you replace the cards every 5th year, right? So a bank making a decision and a major bank making a decision in the country, that is tens and hundreds, thousands of cards a year, right? While scoring an enterprise, one enterprise is of course some work for it to happen, and the volume per se will never be like 100,000 cards to one enterprise. So the two markets are different in its nature. One is like high volume, and remember, here we sell components, and on Access it's more deals, it's lower volume per deal, but the average sales price is higher because we sell a complete card. So they are different in its nature.
Interesting. I think maybe we round up by talking a little bit about the cash flow profile. So there's been some talk, especially after the Q2, about burn rate.
Yep.
Can you explain a little bit about the burn rate, how you look in the balance sheet, and what kind of cash profile you anticipate going forward?
I mean, we started a year of doing a rights issue, where we managed to secure another 100 million, so that we're very grateful for. And we also said that most of this money will then be used for kind of outbound, go to market, get traction in the market. We then, when we saw that the market was not developing as fast as we have anticipated, then we kind of hit the brakes, both on hiring, because we were kind of gearing up in order to meet the demand that everybody believed was out there. So we hit the brakes and we restructured the company. So we did quite some headcount cutting in order to get down in cost. So on an annual basis, we are basically looking at, or we have decreased the cost with 35 million Norwegian crowns. That also means that the burn rate was basically 9.9 in the first half monthly, and that we are looking at that part is going down to basically 6.9 per month. And of course, a part of that burn rate is also linked to buying components, and of course that is linked to how much business traction we get. So we are not going to buy stuff to have it in a warehouse if the business is not picking up, obviously. So if you look at the pure OPEX, it's more kind of rather 5.5 on a monthly basis.
And then I guess going forward, looking into 2024, it'll also depend on the revenues that you will get and the kind of revenue profile that you'll get from the business.
But we are definitely keeping an eye on cost, and we have come down in cost a lot.
But as you stand right now, you're comfortable with the cash position and the balance sheet that you have?
Yes, absolutely. I think that we have made all the right measurements and taking all the right actions quick enough, proactively, before things kind of get out of hand and becomes a serious problem. But of course, you cannot save yourself to success. So we have to get the market going. So the primary objective of the company is, of course, to build the market, the go-to-market channels, work with our smart car manufacturers and their customers, work with all the value-added distributors and system integrators in order to kind of push all those, both these market tracks, in order to adapt to biometric cards and that they know it exists, right? Yeah.
Robert, super. Thank you very much for coming here to talk to us, and thank you very much for listening.
Thank you, Markus. Great to be here. Pleasure again.